Cool.
Hi, everyone. I'm Vitor Botega, Head of Partnerships here at Arka. Welcome to the webinar Looking Beyond the Holiday Season to Grow Sustainably in 2021. This year has been crazy for everyone. Many new businesses went online. Many new entrepreneurs launched their e-commerce. Consumer behavior changed a lot. And we just had the biggest Black Friday Cyber Monday sale in the history of the planet. So we're here to help you navigate the last 2 weeks of the year and help you keep stable and strong for 2021. I have here 3 experts with me, Matt from BigCommerce, George from ShipBob, and Phillip from Arka. But before they introduce themselves, just want to say 2 more things. If you have any questions, ask here in the comment section on YouTube. I'm going to pull them out when the time comes. And this webinar will be recorded and available here at Arka's YouTube channel. So Matt, please introduce yourself, and then George and Phillip.
Cool. Hey, thanks, Victor. So hey guys, my name is Matt Crawford. I'm a GM of shipping here at BigCommerce. For those that don't know, BigCommerce is the mid-market's leading SaaS e-commerce platform.
Awesome.
Cool. Hello, everybody. I'm George Wojciechowski, one of the co-founders over at ShipBob, and I also am the VP of Partnerships.
How's it going? Phil Akhzar, founder of Arka. We're a platform for businesses, specifically in e-com, direct-to-consumer, to get packaging online. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Welcome, everyone, and thanks for participating. Matt, why don't you go and share your screen so we can start seeing what you have to share with us, any trends, any tips?
Yeah, so I'm calling in today from Chicago, from my childhood bedroom, as we're trying to escape COVID up in Chicago. But like you said, Victor, we saw the biggest Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Cyber Week stats that we'd ever seen as a platform, just like everyone else seems like. About 70% year-on-year sales for us. Black Friday had a 45% year-on-year sales, and then Cyber Monday was huge. We saw large increases in GMV. We as a platform are very proud of 7 consecutive years of no downtime during Cyber Monday, or I guess Cyber Week. From a stat perspective, we saw not only higher GMV or more sales, we saw bigger orders. We saw a huge increase in smartphones, although I think we saw desktop continuing to lead the way in terms of about half the orders. And then interestingly, I thought the bottom middle stat was interesting around iPhones more than Androids. I've been an Android guy my whole life and just switched to Apple, and I can't believe iPhones are that much bigger. Anyways, though, just like everything with COVID, it seems like there's been winners and losers in terms of categories. Interesting, though, some of the categories that struggled in the beginning of COVID, like automotive, had huge wins this season. Sporting goods or apparel, the categories that have seen huge upticks throughout COVID also seem to do well. What I liked, though, about this season, not only were the established brands growing, but we saw way more brands this year online, due to COVID, that continued to either see their first Cyber Week and do well. We saw brands that had been small leading up to this year and continue a rocket ship growth that was also fun to see. A couple tactical tips in terms of things that I'd say looking forward. A lot of this is too late for this season, but they're good things to keep in mind in the holiday season if you haven't already, or as you get into future-proofing your shipping going to next year. I'll go through 5 of these real quick. Feel free to ask questions and we'll jump in as a team. 1, make sure your shoppers see the right shipping expectations in your checkout or your cart. I still think it's awe-inspiring when I look at Amazon and every product tells me when it's going to get there. And I look at my website and I can't tell a merchant, or I can't tell a shopper when the product's going to be delivered.
Totally.
So that it's easy to solve. Working with someone like ShipBob, you can easily display a 2-day shipping badge on product pages. But more than that, make sure you're giving customers choice in terms of how they want the product, when it's going to be delivered, and what it's going to cost. The second one, make sure your fulfillment strategy is right. And this gets into things like contracts, using apps that give you multi-carrier capability. I know a lot of the brands that are on the phone today are young or just starting out. We've got some big merchants here too, but as you're just starting out, things like a ShipStation, let's say, allow you to plug into a 3PL if you want that, allow you to use discounted rates of different carriers. But basically the goal is give you flexibility so you're not stuck with one mode or one service. The third one, place an order on your website. do this before the holidays if you can, and see what the post-purchase experience is. And ask yourself, does what you communicate to a shopper after they click buy, does it make you want to come back? A couple things I do on my site, we put small gifts in every box, even just gummy bears or a thank you note are a small gesture to say thank you. We do promotions, help people repeat buy. And since COVID started, texting has been much more popular as a way to engage or communicate with shoppers post-purchase than I saw a year ago. The next two are a little bit longer term or a little bit more strategy oriented, but on number 4, make sure you're selling into the right markets. I can't believe when I look at a stores, when I look at back-end data about how many of our brands are selling only in the US, and when I think of how easy it is to partner with someone who can display a fully landed cost in checkout, get discounted shipping rates, and then even natively on BigCommerce, you can display a local currency to a shopper in the UK versus someone in China or Australia, as opposed to just US dollar, or using taxes to show customs and duties at checkout. But it's super easy to open your site to sell to customers outside the US. And a good rule of thumb I think of is if you're not selling 10% of your sales outside the US, there's probably growth opportunity for you. And the 5th one, this gets just talking and communicating and getting out of the email and technology side. Just build better relationships with your partners, align early with what they expect, align early with what works for them, cutoff times, charges, what happens if things don't go well, and think through backup plans for when disruption occurs. And a lot of you that have lived through COVID this year already have seen what that disruption looks like, and you've probably done this already. But my thinking here is there's so much opportunity to be better for customers if you align with your partners throughout the supply chain. So 5 quick tips. Feel free to shout in the questions if you have any.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Does anybody here want to comment on anything that Matt said?
Yeah, I'd be interested.
Go ahead, Phil.
No, it's just on the automotive side. Like we have folks that are working at like, friends that work at like Chrysler, Ford, GM that are seeing like a boatload of trucks getting purchased right now. Like when you were looking into the automotive data, I don't know how granular you got into the data, Matt, but with the sales that you were saying, like automotive was hurting at first and then it really ticked up. Are you recognizing that a lot of that is one type of vehicle versus another, or are people just saying, okay, it's time to buy a car, it's time to travel, or what? Because right now, apparently like Ford can't produce enough trucks. Like they're just being bought like and sold like right off the lot right now. For whatever reason, I'm guessing it's because people are getting more outdoorsy or they have time to do that. So that's one thing. But any other interesting, I guess, characteristics of those facts that you might have?
Yeah, so outside of BigCommerce, I things like RV rentals going up. I see car sales going up. But on our platform, we do folks that are selling components to improve your car, whether it be accessories for your Tesla, whether it be exhaust kits, whether it be decals, right? It's more of the B2C. We do B2B automotive too, but the B2C side of things where people are trying to do their own work on their car. They're trying to make their car better. And I think it goes with similar to like apparel or sporting goods, where people are saying, I've got more time to slow down. I've got more time to think, and they're spending money on categories to make them happy. Yeah. And I see a lot of the automotive brands on BigCommerce that might have gone B2B historically. And on the same site, you can have a B2B experience here and a B2C experience here. And so I think what we're seeing is more of those brands coming online and realizing the benefit of selling direct to consumer that maybe they weren't a year or two ago.
Yeah. Interesting.
Cool. What I wanted to say, I thought those were fantastic points, very pragmatic ways to navigate Q4 and peak season. Literally verbatim, I would have chosen similar topics. And the one thing that I would add to it is also talk to the partners that you're working with in your supply chain. Talk if you're doing custom boxes or custom packaging, setting expectations and talking to partners like Arka or BigCommerce or ShipBob, and just being clear that your vendor, your partner can handle the volume or capacity that you're expecting is also super important this time of year.
Totally. 100%.
Awesome.
Vitor, looks like we got a question.
Yeah, we got a question here. So what are the tips to prevent inventory stockouts of products and packaging? So people are going to sell a lot in the holiday season, and like they need to have enough inventory for the holiday and even for 2021. So what are the tips for that?
I mean, I can say on packaging, you definitely need to. I mean, so right now we're seeing the craziest delays ever. Like the amount of the amount of flow of products that are just happening right now is pretty insane. Like even UPS has, I don't know if you guys read this, but like UPS has put a halt on the number of products it can ship for Nike and Gap.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's not an indicator of something going on in the supply chain that clearly requires more preparation than usual, I don't know what is. Because I mean, like we're established businesses, but we're still not even as big as a UPS. And if UPS has to like, throttle its bandwidth to a certain extent, then clearly that's going to work its way down the supply chain. My advice would be to order in bulk, order in advance, and just warehouse it at your local ShipBob facility so that you can just pick and pluck that inventory. But like jokes aside, seriously, like you should be just ordering more if it's available and if you need it, and forecast that out. Maybe give it like a conservative cushion of like increase over a certain time scale, and from that you can understand like, oh, okay, so maybe I'm set for the next quarter instead of maybe on a monthly basis, which you might usually purchase, or on a weekly basis or whatever. I think you just need to set out a proper forecast and work it conservatively over a larger time period than usual, so that you're not stressing and rushing when it comes down to the time where you actually need your product. That's good practice in general, but all the more so now when we're seeing like serious side effects of what's going on.
Definitely good practice in general, and there are tech solutions, but they're by no means foolproof. One of the things that we have already built into our software at ShipBob is that when your inventories get below a certain threshold, you automatically get email or text message notified in some way that your inventory levels are below basically at the reorder level. Now, even with this holiday season, that's not foolproof. I mean, it's been a lot. E-commerce has expanded more aggressively than even we had with our high expectations. But it is a way to kind of curb that in some ways, if it's possible.
Yeah, don't rely on safety stock. Like you need to maybe 2x your safety stock.
Yeah.
Or whatever factor, multiple or percentage increase of difference you would need to do. That totally hits it on the head, George.
Yeah.
I think one more I'll add is a lot of brands that are just starting out, they almost wing inventory and forecasting. Yeah. I think every forecast is going to be wrong in some regard, but at least having a plan and saying, what do I think my sales are going to be, is going to be better than nothing. Mm-hmm. And I think my suggestion is make sure as a business, no matter what size you are, and there's different levels in investment you make, but you have a singular view of your orders across channels, and you have a singular view of inventory across different locations. And that there's probably no perfect answer to say, how do you avoid stockouts? But I'd say the best thing to do is say, I need this amount of product 90 or 180 days out, and you're planning for that. And given delays, you might plan a little bit more, but there's a balance, right, of buying an extra 6 months of stock and sitting on it, and you may not be able to sell it. For someone like an apparel, that's a big risk. But I'd say my tip is a singular view of inventory and a plan is your best bet to avoid stockouts of product or packaging.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. Totally.
Awesome. It's an extraordinary time. I have friends here in Los Angeles who run a wholesale business for clothes and basics and stuff like that. And they, out of nowhere, came upon some inventory that they had totally left off their books and totally forgot about. It was like 8 pallets worth. And they were like, oh no, what do we do with this? They literally put it online through their like very small D2C channel, and they sold through it in like 3 days. So even like,
wow.
If you're afraid of ordering more, there are businesses that totally weren't even expecting to sell a certain amount of inventory that are selling out of that stuff that was essentially on the back burner of their priority list.
Is his name Hank?
What's that?
We just got a question here. Just the same thing, Hank is a traditional B2B seller with apparel, but looking at transitioning to B2C. Is this your friend, George?
Yeah. Well, the question's addressed to Matt, so I'll let him handle it first. But I definitely can contribute as well.
Yeah, coincidence. Awesome. So right. He wants tips to this transition to B2B to B2C.
So here's what I'll say. So at Hank, I hope I get this right, but from a shipping perspective, B2B, at the traditional level, you're shipping pallets over here and you're shipping eaches over here, right? I'm going to assume you've got that part sorted out. And you're saying, how do I manage shipping from a B2C perspective that's different from B2B? I'd say first is on your storefront, I haven't sorted that out. So let me start at the front. A shopper who's selling B2C is going to have different expectations around shipping costs than B2B. So on BigCommerce, for example, you can have different shipping rates that reflect what the actual shipping costs are going to be for a B2C versus a B2B, right? So B2B wholesale probably has free shipping, but you're sending $50 of clothes, you might not want to absorb shipping costs. So I think the consumer has different expectations around timing than a B2B customer would as well. So to get the front end experience right, from a pick and pack perspective, I'll let George talk about how they handle that. But my tip would be carrier allotment probably is a tip to say, how do you manage the transition, right? I think as a bigger brand, you're probably shipping more FedEx or UPS or LTL. There's easy ways using a shipping app to print labels for eaches to get discounted rates with either postal or FedEx or UPS, I guess for that matter, to drive the shipping costs down. I'd use AOV on the front end to drive free shipping thresholds. Say, hey, look, drive a higher purchase price to get free shipping. And I try to delineate in the warehouse, if you're fulfilling yourself, what your workflow is between a B2B and picking cases or pallets from the B2C side, which is picking eaches. And I think as you get into the flow, oftentimes brands, they start out doing everything together and they start to bifurcate over time to say my flow from either picking, packing, and shipping is all going to be a little bit different on the B2C side versus B2B. I'm happy to chat more, Hank, on your specific situation if you want to, but there's a couple, I guess, generic tips that hopefully get you started.
That's really great. And a reminder, there's a lot of early on here. So quick breakdown, AOV, average order value, right? Okay,
good.
Just making just for those of you that did. Okay, cool.
Once again, right on the money, Matt. That was a great question and a great response. This is a trend that I've been seeing, and I think Matt and Phil have been seeing the same thing even before COVID, of businesses who are traditionally B2B looking at the D2C channels and B2C channels and being like, we need to get closer to our customers. We need to start building a relationship with the people who buy our products, and have been transferring to B2C. And there's a lot of benefits to that, not, let alone higher margins, but you can control the sale. The whole process of B2B shipping, oftentimes with EDI, has become very outdated, and now you see even bigger retailers, like BigCommerce stores and other small to mid-sized businesses, trying to find their new hot product instead of buying it from like another Fortune 5,000 company. They're literally looking at the D2C space and seeing what's hot and what can we drop ship. Literally let the e-commerce company ship it out for us, but we just want that on our website, because this is where all the new innovation and all the new great products are coming from. And then you add, what a company like Arka can do in terms of the unboxing experience and the perception that the customer is getting when that merchant delivers. There's just so many advantages to going D2C versus B2B at this point. And I think that's been expedited in 2020 with the way things have played out in the world.
Yeah,
awesome.
Super.
Let's go for one last question here before we go to the presentation of George. George has another presentation, and then Phil. So, Manuela, how can someone determine the right mailer box dimension for shipping a pair of pieces like hoodies and sweatpants, all in one box for a startup business?
Great question. And you can honestly replace apparel pieces, hoodies, and sweatpants with any other item. Like, how do you determine the right mailer box dimension for my product is really what this question boils down to. So firstly, it always comes down to obviously measuring your products and what type of product mix you could imagine that you're going to be shipping out the door, because it's one thing if you're shipping hoodies and hats together or hoodies and hats separately, and that might mean you're going to have different packaging SKUs for the respective SKUs that you're shipping out the door and whatever combination that might be. But to really perfect it, instead of just maybe measuring it, determining a box size, and then doing a full-blown order, something that you can do, we allow this on the platform. It's like $20 for a sample, fully printed. So you can measure your product at home, create and then use that guesstimate to place a small order or just a sample box, take that home, see how it fits, make your adjustments accordingly. Alternatively, excuse me, another thing we do at Arka is actually you can take your product size, product dimensions, submit that to us, and we will actually make the sample and optimize a packaging size with an insert tray for your product to fit perfectly if it needs a tray. For example, a t-shirt's not going to need a tray, but if you're shipping like a mug, for example, and you want that to ship safely, we will design that tray for you. We charge like a nominal fee for that. It's like $99 for a completely optimal sized package, and we provide the file. You can decorate it with your brand, and then we'll create a sample for you. Or you can just, take a shot in the dark, say, this is what I think it is, order a sample, see how it fits, and then place a large order. But whatever you do, I always recommend start sooner and start slower, but definitely start sooner so that you can actually afford that time it's going to take for you to pilot something out that may or may not fit your product perfectly, because nobody wants to be in the nightmare scenario where they say, I think this is a good size. They order a full allotment of the packaging they need. It arrives at their warehouse. And then next thing you know, they're yelling at ShipBob because the product doesn't fit right. And it's not their fault. It's because the steps needed to anticipate what's going to happen through the sale needs to happen sooner so that you can essentially experiment and understand what is the right size for your product, which goes hand in hand with what's the right branding for my package. The sooner you do any of that and all of that, you can get that out of the way, and things can move much smoother down the supply chain. So don't hesitate to reach out to us, or if you're working with someone local to help build this out. Whatever the case, just do it sooner rather than later, please.
Look at this message.
Emanuela. She placed a sample order a while ago. Good job, Emanuela. Nice. Okay, good. We'll see how it goes. And that also answers Zishan's question way up there, where he says, how long can it take? It's taking up to 5 weeks right now during holidays for branded. For unbranded, it's still a similar timeline as long as that product is in stock. We're seeing a lot of people actually run out of stock at various facilities for like bubble mailers, poly mailers, corrugated boxes of specific sizes. But again, it goes back to the adage of starting sooner so that you can get it in time, because you can only rush an order so much. And right now, corrugated usage has gone up 20% thanks to COVID. It's absolutely insane. There was just a price increase, $50 per ton. Yeah, it's bananas right now. So just start sooner. And if you're listening to this, you're already in a good place, because clearly you're the type of person and business that likes to be prepared. So, virtual pat on the back to everybody.
Do you want to comment on something, Matt and George, on one of those two questions?
I think the expert answered it very, very well.
No comment is totally acceptable too.
Yeah, I mean, we see this all the time when somebody wants, there's two ways you can go about it. If you're doing your own fulfillment, just try out order one of any of the potential boxes from a vendor or Arka, and try it out. Play with your orders, look at your history, and see like, okay, what product mix are people buying, and what's the most efficient way to package them. I mean, I know it's a little bit overly simplistic, but I mean, doing that firsthand and playing trial and error with it is going to get you the answer that you need. When you come to a company like ShipBob, you can essentially say like, here are the size and dimensions of the products, and we will help you locate the appropriate box for that order to ship it as efficiently as possible. But there are a couple ways you can do it. So I hope that helps answer the question.
Awesome. Okay, so let's go into your presentation, George.
Cool.
Please share your screen. Okay, it's here.
Cool.
Awesome.
You guys see this?
Yeah, we can see it.
Cool. Like I said earlier in the conversation, my name is George Wojciechowski. I'm one of the co-founders of ShipBob. ShipBob, for those of you who are not familiar, our mission is to give the world the power of e-commerce logistics to small and mid-sized businesses. We ship all over the world. We use our network of fulfillment centers to help you strategically split and manage inventory to help you be more competitive with the biggest companies in e-commerce. Most of the people on this call are familiar with ordering from a marketplace like Amazon or a store like Nordstrom's or Nike. And the reason that they can get those products to you quickly and oftentimes with free shipping is because they have a network of distribution centers and fulfillment centers around the country, around the continent, and sometimes even around the world. And that allows them to distribute their inventory and be close to their merchants. One of the things that ShipBob enables independent merchants to do is essentially leverage that same type of network, although it's ShipBob's network. So you don't have to spend hundreds of millions and billions of dollars building out that network yourself to essentially offer the same level of service, to meet modern customer expectations, and to achieve costs that are scalable. At the moment, we have 12 fulfillment centers within the United States, 1 in Canada and 1 in Kilkenny, Ireland. Like I said, this allows our merchants to ship. For those of you who don't know, there's 8 shipping zones within the United States. If you have a business, say, for example, in San Francisco, and you have clients in Florida, in Illinois, in New York, you're transacting through multiple shipping zones, maybe zone 4 or 5. If you get to New York and Florida, that's zone 7 and 8. The further your products go in terms of the shipping zones, the higher the cost. So that's fine, and that's how most businesses operate. But if you're able to take your inventory and store it in locations that allow you to be on a consistent basis, zone 1 and zone 2 near your merchants, not only will you be able to meet those modern customer expectations of 1 to 2 day ground delivery, but you'll also achieve a strategic advantage over your competition because they're paying the multiple shipping zones price, and your average order cost is zone 1 and zone 2, which can oftentimes be 20, 30, 40% less than what your competition is paying. This is a little bit about ShipBob, and I can go into more detail if somebody wants to email me or reach out to me directly. But one of the things that I wanted to feature in this presentation is our takeaways from this most recent, oh boy, I put 2021. I mentioned
living in the future, George.
Yeah, we just got done with 2021 planning, and I guess that number was still fresh in my mind. But this slide is about our main takeaways from Black Friday, Cyber Monday 2020, the things that we've discovered and were able to experience firsthand. We went into Q4 and Black Friday, Cyber Monday with aggressive estimates in terms of shipping volume that our merchants are going to be doing. We work with over 4,700 merchants at this point, all shipping products out, and we had very high estimates. Even with those aggressive estimates, we underestimated the acceleration of e-commerce. The network was even more packed with capacity than we expected, even with aggressive estimates. So that was surprising to us. We thought we set the bar high, and the actual result was much, much, much higher than that high bar. Big retailers like Amazon, Etsy's, eBay's of the world did well online. However, the independents, the small to mid-sized e-commerce businesses did really well, just as well. In some respects, I think they may have even done better than the bigger in terms of year-over-year growth, although I don't have hard data to present that as fact, but that's just my intuition. And it sounds like you agree, Phil.
I second that, yeah.
So big retailers did well online, but there's an appetite for people to buy unique products and different products and shop smaller among e-commerce customers. We all know in traditional retail, the Saturday after Black Friday, I think is called Small Business Saturday or Small Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still there. It's just online. And it was very impressive to see brands, a year or two old, just do gangbuster numbers. Another takeaway that we had is that and this is kind of going into the original first bullet point, our single day volumes surpassed our entire week of Black Friday, Cyber Monday 2019, meaning just Black Friday or any of the days following in the week after Black Friday. In that single day, we were doing more shipping volume than we did all of last year's Black Friday, Cyber Monday 2019. which for us, that was an incredible thing to see and an incredible thing to keep our obligation to merchants and making sure products got out on time. And we did a really fine job, and we're very proud of that. But that was just incredibly amazing that a single day was bigger than 5-6 days last year.
Totally.
We touched on this a little bit earlier in the conversation. Supply chain issues were a factor for both merchants, large and small. You had businesses like Gap and Nike and a couple of other big names having issues with UPS, and so did smaller merchants as well. And it's something to be aware of. Going back to a lot of some of Matt's original points is like talking and engaging other factors of your supply chain when getting ready for this time of year. Even when you do that, it's not fail safe, but it's really good to do, and it'll help prevent things happening that could hamper your business. But there are some things that you can't prevent either, whether you're Nike or you're selling handbags out of Brooklyn. And so that was interesting to us, just how the supply chain issues literally affected every business, every e-commerce business.
Yeah.
We've got 2 cool websites. We made this information public back in April when COVID first hit. We wanted to share the information that we were looking at internally at ShipBob with the e-commerce community. So if anyone's interested in more information on any of these trends, we have 2 websites. One is trends.shipbob.com, which shows what types of products are moving through our fulfillment centers. It's been super fascinating for the last 9 months, but it was especially interesting back in March when COVID first hit, and you would see the usual catalysts like cosmetics and apparel just fall off a cliff, while things like baby formula rose like 850% and workout equipment rose 600% in a matter of weeks. It's a really fun site to play around and kind of see which products are consumers buying. And the other website is carriers.shipbob.com, which is really cool because it essentially tags the carriers that we work with, FedEx, UPS, USPS, DHL, and other subsidiary services to their performance levels of what they were pre-COVID. So if you have a carrier and you want to see like, hey, I'm trying to decide whether to ship this product FedEx, UPS, or USPS, and you want to see how they're doing in real time, we have a website set up for it based on the hundreds of thousands of packages that we're shipping out daily and weekly. So that concludes my part of the presentation, and let me know if there are any questions.
Awesome. I just added the both websites here on the comment section for our audience to take a look.
George, one of the things I thought I'd add is when I first started and got to know ShipBob, I looked at it and said, holy cow, how do I have enterprise level 3PL capabilities as an SMB? And as I talk to brands, oftentimes, they look at me when I say, let's talk shipping. They look at me in this scared look, like a deer in headlights, like, oh no, that's just Joe in the warehouse. He does shipping. And no one really says shipping, I'm proud of my shipping, or at least it doesn't happen often. And I think what I wanted to say to the audience is take a look at ShipBob and talk to the team about how easy it is, one, to get products in there, but how they make your business easier or simpler. You ship your products overseas to their warehouse. You focus on selling. The integration between your e-com cart and ShipBob works. So basically you focus on selling and branding and customer service, and you leave a lot of what I geek out about, think is awesome on the supply chain side. You leave a lot of that to the guys that live and breathe this every day as the experts.
Yeah.
And I've been dumbfounded at how easy it is for brands to get started and how scared people are to make the first step. So if you're thinking of a 3PL, my suggestion is give it a shot, reach out to the team and have a conversation. And if your product mix fits what ShipBob does, they do a really, really good job and make it easy, especially for small merchants. Big merchants too, but small ones I think are the ones that are typically scared to get started.
Yeah, no, thank you for saying that, Matt. That means a lot. And BigCommerce has been a phenomenal partner of ours for the last few years, and I'm delighted to hear you say that. I think that for merchants, the most valuable resource they have is their time, and so focusing on marketing, product development, or other factors that are going to help grow your business versus bogging yourself down in the details of fulfillment isn't necessarily the best use of your time. So locating a partner such as ShipBob that can allow you to basically hand the fulfillment and the delivery of the product of your products into your customers' hands for you will allow you more free time to focus on what matters and what's going to help you grow your business. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah. A lot of these businesses are starting out. So if they want to, they're thinking about hiring a VP of ops, first get ShipBob, then see how you want to decide on maybe hiring that person.
So how do you know when it's the time to start using a 3PL?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's different for everyone. Sometimes we have, I'll say this, I think it's important for merchants, at least in the beginning, to do their own fulfillment and know how that process works and understand how to package their products and what it takes to get products out the door. But when those merchants find themselves spending 40% of their day or 35% of their day or just too much out of their day focusing on shipping out their products, that should be the light bulb moment that says, I need to find a partner that's going to help me scale this so I don't have to do it myself. Mm-hmm. There are different circumstances. Say, for example, you just came off a Rockstar Kickstarter campaign and raised $500,000 for your product, and you know that you've already got orders lined up, tens of thousands of orders lined up. You may not want to try to handle that yourself. But if you're beginning a new e-commerce business with no kind of monumental events such as a Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaign or VC financing, it's good to handle maybe the first 2, 3, maybe up to 6 months on your own. And then once you start getting to around 100, 200, 250 shipments a month, which is like essentially you packaging 25, 30 orders per day, it's a good idea to start looking for the right partner to handle that piece of your business.
Awesome, thanks. We have a big question here from a brand. So he's going to run out of stock in 2 days.
Wow.
Oh my God.
All right. So it looks like Prodigy Mixed Crafts is looking to potentially sell their old designed product instead of their current, because their current is about to run out in 2 days. I don't know. I think everyone's gonna have a different spin on this. I think they could pull it off and say, this is our holiday vintage line that's talking about last year's design or 2 years ago's design, whatever the case, and then maybe throw in something though. Like the key is just to not make your buyer feel like they're getting slighted in any way. Like they don't want to feel ripped off. They don't want to feel like, oh, this is the old version, versus, yeah, if you put the positive spin on it, that's one thing, but maybe also throw in something as well. I'm not familiar with Prodigy Mixed Crafts. It looks like there's drinks along the lines of like drinks and recipes, but maybe throw in something for free as well if you can do it and if you can afford it, and look at the net loss of what it would be like to lose that customer versus the additional cost of and also keeping in mind like the cost of customer acquisition and then losing them, future revenue versus doubling your costs of sending something out the door that maybe throws in another free product, and what that's going to look like for your bottom line and ultimately the customer's happiness. Because if you're keeping them happy, that's one thing, and hopefully everyone out there, let's be understanding of one another in this difficult time. Things are a bit unusual, and like what I'm hearing from Prodigy Mixed Crafts doesn't sound like a surprise, and it's not a new story. Like I've heard something similar from many merchants. So take an empathetic approach and maybe take that route for an overly long answer to that question. But that would be my approach.
Yeah, I thought that was some pretty slick ideas that Phil had, that you can kind of add additional value to their purchase in some ways, perhaps a coupon for when the new design catches up in terms of inventory. But I would be transparent about it and let them know the situation, and just explain it to them and be like, hey, but I'm happy to sell you this old design plus a coupon for 25% off in your next purchase.
Awesome. George, we have another question here from your friend Hank. I don't know if he's your friend, but
he's your friend. George, he's your friend.
I think he's asking for about 3PL, right?
Yeah, typical costs of a 3PL, I believe, is what Hank meant. L is near the O on the keyboard, so it's probably 3PL. Typical cost of a 3PL. Are we talking 2,000 shirts printed and shipped to a 5K race event, B2B? Event goes virtual, and now we need to offer shipping to 2,000 individuals. Okay. Yeah, I mean, pricing is pretty straightforward.
Hank, you're great.
Good one. So historically in the 3PL industry, pricing has been, I wouldn't say complicated, but it's been filled with vague line items in terms of the services that are being provided to you and what the different costs are. We've taken the approach at ShipBob of making that a lot more clear, a lot more transparent. So there's essentially three main costs: the cost of warehousing your product, which we can get into detail if you want to reach out to me directly. There's the cost of shipping your product, and then there's the cost of every time new inventory arrives at one or any of our fulfillment centers, of the cost of counting it, confirming the count, that what you said you're sending us is actually what we're receiving, and putting that into stock and getting it ready to ship out. So there's three main costs associated with fulfillment with ShipBob. As far as what, are we talking 5% or 50%? That differs per every merchant, what your savings are going to be or what pricing is going to be. Obviously, a merchant doing, 2,000 or 750 shipments a month is going to have different pricing than a merchant doing 25,000 shipments a month. So please feel free to reach out to me directly, and we can go into the granular details, and I can get you a proposal.
Awesome. Thank you very much, George.
George, from a benchmark perspective, 10-ish% of revenue is what, 15-ish%? Somewhere between 5 and 15% is probably what most brands spend on shipping and fulfillment overall-ish, right? And it varies significantly.
I may have misunderstood the question. Yeah, I think you're right, Matt. Yeah. That's yes, 10, 15%, 10, 15, and I've seen it as high as 20 for some heavier items, but those items have a higher AOV. But anywhere between 10 and 20% is typical. Good question.
Awesome.
The way I'd say it, Hank, if I was thinking about it, is your warehousing, your shipping costs should go down, right? With better rates with ShipBob as well as closer proximity to the customer. Typically, that's what you see. Yep. You would see a variable cost instead of a fixed cost on your side, right? And then all the different cost components George brought up are how pricing works. But usually you see costs flat or lower with a 3PL, as well as the operational efficiencies. At least that's what I've seen.
Awesome. Before we dive in Phil's presentation, Phillip, there's a new comment on the last question you answered.
Okay, old design, new design get mixed. This is the problem if the stocks will get mixed. I guess it would depend on what you're presenting with each stock. But if you're saying that you're running out and some of the new ones are going to go to people and some of the old ones are going to go to people, you're just going to have to treat them like two different products and do a better job of segregating. One thing that you don't have control of is the fact that you're running out, but I would do my best to have control of making sure these don't get mixed, right? If you have that control. But as always, all of our emails are listed next to our names once I jump into this presentation. So feel free to reach out to us and we can dive further. Okay, let me get after it real quick. Okay. I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as possible because a lot of this is high level and not necessarily like Arka dependent. It's just basically some interesting facts from 2020 and what things look like in 2021, or at least our best guess on it. Quick recap, obviously, our company is Arka. My name is Phillip Akhzar. I'm the founder of the company. We make packaging for D2C e-commerce businesses that ship products online, custom branded and unbranded. We can essentially do it all. We produce in the US, North America, and ship internationally. So quick summary. Again, apologies on the speed of this. There's just a good amount to cover, but this is recorded and you can always check this out later and then email us. But essentially just going to look at how things look now, how things will look moving forward. So just Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales in the US, based on the trajectory of what we're looking at now, we might get up to 24 billion. We're going to break the $20 billion mark. Going to keep going. The interesting thing I'll say about this may not look like as big of a jump as y'all would have guessed, even 2019 to 2020 for the Black Friday, Cyber Monday timing as a whole. But I think I speak for everyone here when I say it's not so much that these Black Friday, Cyber Monday days independently of every other day were so big. It's the weeks and months that were leading up to it that were such primers for how big of a blast off Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and the holiday season was going to be. It's as if e-commerce shopping was just not on the radar of folks as much as it was obviously in 2019 as it was in 2020. And, you know, thanks to the current circumstances, people were just thinking about it sooner and starting earlier, and thus throttling supply chain more intensely, because normally it's a on your mark, get set, go sort of deal on the logistics side for the holiday season, whereas this year it definitely came early. Online holiday shopping, what it's looking like right now between November to December is 189 billion. So again, this is actually much more bigger of a leap, and kind of justifies what I was saying in the previous slide about it starting sooner, because it's a lot of sales spread out over a larger period of time. And yes, the actual days themselves have obviously increased as well, but we're seeing it a lot over a larger period of time because of obviously the current circumstances. Revenue by smartphones. Matt briefly touched on this, like what's happening on iPhones. He even went as granular as finding out that most of it is actually is being purchased on iPhones, with desktops still obviously taking the lead. Impact on consumer purchasing habits as a whole, and what it's actually doing to e-com packaging. So U.S. retail online grocery sales have obviously increased. I don't know about y'all, but I'm doing a lot of not necessarily just like Uber Eats. I mean like actual groceries. Like we're using Instacart to get our groceries delivered, because every Safeway, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, Ralph's, wherever we go to is an absolute zoo when we walk in. So we try to get as much delivered as home as possible. You know, people needing to seek entertainment indoors has caused an increase in value for, you know, electronic goods, and something that Matt touched on earlier as well was things that people care about. So things that they can actually spend time on that is in their immediate lives, since everyone can like slow down and see what's around them and what they want to do and what they want to spend their money towards. And as a result of this, the increase of corrugated board packaging has gone up 22%. We have not seen double-digit numbers, not in my lifetime, increase on an annual level. And I think that doesn't come as too much of a surprise to folks, considering what's going on in e-com right now. Lastly, again, some more products that are blowing up and busting through the ceiling is toys and sports equipment. Again, another clear like home item. Kids are at home. Apparel, you know, you're not going into every other store to try clothes on while keeping social distance, versus just, you know, pressing a couple buttons to purchase something online. That's great for all you folks out there that sell apparel. House and garden furniture, again, extension to their homes, meaning spending money towards things that are in front of them and that they care about. Very well put by Matt. This is just some data we got from ShipBob, kind of interesting. More package delays. Yep, I see that. I touched on this, I think, right before the webinar when I was talking about how even someone like UPS has limited how much product it ships for Nike and Gap. That shouldn't be a surprise. Package delays, package production delays, like we're seeing delays. Like our turnaround time for custom branded packaging has doubled. Obviously, there's more sales. Obviously, supply chains getting disrupted. Interesting that some folks are less sales. We weren't able to dive deeper to find out like what these less sales are. Maybe that's something that quick timeout. George, Matt, is there anything that you're seeing like maybe in the trends report? You can see this if you go to, is it trends.shipbob.com, George?
Yeah, trends.shipbob.com.
Yeah, to see like what's getting sold more, what's getting sold less.
Yep.
If y'all were to throw out just like a shot in the dark guess of like what type of companies that you think are selling less product online, what do you think that would be? Like what are people not buying as much as? I mean, I know they're not buying as much tourism as they used to. They're not buying tickets to a cruise liner, but as far as physical goods,
travel, accessories, and luggage companies.
Yeah.
Maybe
Customer complaints, of course.
Longer.
Fulfilling orders has become harder due to safety concerns. All the more reason why you should be hitting up ShipBob to make sure that everything's being given the white glove treatment to be sent out the door. Things look moving forward. This is very high level, right? Like AI and AR will enhance e-commerce experience. Like this is something that I don't know if you guys have seen what IKEA has been doing, but it's absolutely phenomenal. I think it's great. A lot of people that are cities and going somewhere a bit more rural or just not in the locations that they are right now. I myself am currently in San Francisco, and we've seen a mass exodus, like as far as the real estate, the status of just like overall real estate inventory across major cities in the United States. Like San Francisco has seen like the biggest jump in available inventory. So people are using IKEA to buy their products, and AR comes as a big part of that to be able to see what things look like.
Hey, Phil, if I interrupt you real quick, I think it's interesting. Not that I want to put a plug in for BigCommerce only, but I think it's really interesting to see how these capabilities that you talk about IKEA are coming to merchants that are using BigCommerce.
That's great.
Right? And the capabilities, take ShipBob as the example. ShipBob used to be a capability only reserved to the biggest brands with the most money to spend. Same with AR. And I think now there's apps you can go onto the BigCommerce marketplace and you get AR or AI or embed different product experiences to give your shoppers a better experience than get on something generic like Amazon. And
Totally.
What IKEA has isn't out of reach for an SMB. It might cost you a little bit of money, but it's not out of reach like it used to be. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to put that plug in.
No. That's a really good point. And please, both of you, any and all, interrupt when relevant data comes to light. But that's phenomenal, because look, you see words like this, and as a small company, because I know a lot of the folks listening in are just getting started, you might think this is out of reach, but as Matt mentioned, it's not. So check out the BigCommerce marketplace, check out their apps. Obviously we're in there. ShipBob, I believe, is in there as well. And explore the tools that are there for you to help you have a better business, and experiment, because you guys are in such a lovely stage of the business where you can't really go wrong. You can go in any which direction, and the risk is not going to be as high due to the volumes that you're at today. So you can really fine tune what it's like to scale your business right now. Not to say that it's too late later, but you can really go nuts right now. Voice commerce, households using smart speakers to just order stuff online. Pretty cool. But this one in particular, this is something that I'm going to encourage everybody to do. Have an omni-channel presence, please. Like, we're seeing a lot of folks that are just on one platform, like some of you out there that are on other platforms and think, oh, well, thank you so much, BigCommerce, for showing up, but I already sell on XYZ. That doesn't matter. That doesn't mean you can't also be selling on BigCommerce. Like, this is really important in the sense that, if you're selling on, let's say, just your BigCommerce store, what's stopping you from also being on other platforms like an eBay or an Amazon? Like, there are other locations that you could be selling, because there are other locations that people are shopping. So with that, especially when starting out, an omni-channel presence can be super important. And that's something that we've seen at Arka increase a great deal. A great deal is people selling in more places than they used to. Mobile commerce will dominate. You're seeing we're already at the halfway point this year at 46%. We're expected to do 73% next year. We'll see about that. I mean, that's actually pretty wild, but I mean, this is currently what we're seeing. This is what the trend looks like. Fulfillment, missing a nail there, sorry. But this is essentially, what we've been talking about up until this point. Take advantage of someone like a ShipBob that can give you Amazon-sized power with the size of just being an SMB. Sustainability is huge. I mean, that's something that we care about a lot at Arka. Like, our packaging is all FSC certified, Forest Service certification, which is, sustainably sourced paper all the way down to the mills, and then ultimately the production of the packaging itself. This is just pretty cool that we're seeing, like, shoppable TV. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but if you pause something on Amazon or some other streaming platforms, you'll have the opportunity to buy that item. Like, someone's wearing a really cool pair of kicks in a show or a movie that you're watching, you might be just one click away from buying that exact product, which is pretty wild. Any questions? This is our nice combination of BigCommerce and ShipBob. We got BigBob15 right here to use as a promo code when checking out on Arka for 15% off. And with that, I think we'll finalize with questions. Really appreciate everyone attending. You can obviously reach out to all of us. It's our first names at our respective companies.com, and are happy to share any additional insights afterwards. And this is available and recorded for you to rewatch at any time.
That was really sharp, Phil. And just let me say that I love one of the things I love about Arka is your focus on eco-friendly and sustainable packaging. that's kind of like the weird side of this shift to e-commerce, is that everyone's using a lot more boxes and a lot more resources. So that's something that's going to continue to be a focus of, I think, everyone in the supply chain for the next few years, until we get it to a point where it's not as detrimental to the environment as it has been the way things that worked before COVID.
Absolutely. We're all, I think we're definitely upping our game as a company. And I think just as an industry in general, the packaging world has come a long way. It's come a long way. And my only advice to folks listening out there is try not to buy into a lot of the gimmicks. There can be some that say, oh, this is made of like corn flour and, it's the safest thing ever. You still want to look into the production process as well. It's not just about the material, but also the manufacturing process and how green that process is. I think that like there was a couple, there was a bit of contention around that when like the Prius first came out. They said, oh, this battery is like the safest thing ever. But then the manufacturing and the actual disposal of a battery is like absolutely absurd when it comes to the environment. So keep those things in mind. It's the life cycle of the product itself, not just when it holds your product. Like, what about afterwards? What about before? That's something that Arka keeps in mind. And whether you use us or someone else, do your research and investigate that that's the case, that they care about the full life cycle of the product, not just this segment that they shine a light on and try to use as like a tool to sell you a product. Like, look at everything.
Okay, guys, we are reaching the end of the webinar. Is there any last minute tips you want to give to the audience?
I like the iterative process. I mean, that's something that we've all kind of touched on from, I think that's been a good ethos of this discussion in general, like experiment and iterate on whatever it is, whether it's, oh, I don't know about my package, I don't know about my fulfillment, I don't know about what platform to sell on. Okay, well then you should be experimenting and then you will get the answer.
Yeah. Whether you're thinking about starting an e-commerce business or already in e-commerce and have a business, you're in the right place and you're well positioned for the next 10 years. So any doubts or hesitancy you have, just put those to the side and go for it. Like Phil said, look at your options, study your options, and there's been a massive shift, a massive transfer of wealth from traditional retail to e-commerce. And so we all have the opportunity now to be a part of that.
Awesome.
I'd say hop on your website, place an order, and see what the customer experience is that you deliver to your shoppers. And think about, is that the experience you want, and how do you tweak that? I think that's one that's easy to control. It's just a little bit of care. It's something that gets forgot about. And I think the objective of that is drive happier customers that come back to you more. So you as a business continue to succeed.
Totally.
Awesome.
Guys, this was fun. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for making this as successful as it was. Couldn't have done without you two.
My pleasure.
Thank you. That was great.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye.
So it was a pleasure today. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Bye. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.